Welcome back to 420 Chief. Today I'm in the studio and I've got Scooter virtually sitting with me today. How you doing, Scoot?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I woke up a little bit late. I went to bed really late because I was doing work on the website. I wanted to get that polished and squared away since we've got so many veteran interviews lined up. Trying to do as many as I can so that I can build up a database of good stories. But we've chatted quite a few times. We've done a couple of interviews that can be found on my YouTube page at 420 Chief. But I wanted to kind of touch base with you. We've kept in touch since we've mobilized. So Scooter and I were mobilized together back in 2010, 2011. And then we lost touch for quite a few years. Ended up reuniting because of TikTok and some things that Scooter had going on. And that led me to drive out to Washington State with Stryker and Baby Spike. Your mic's doing a ticky thing again.
Oh,
But went out to visit Scooter in Washington State and got to spend some time with him and kind of rekindle. And it's like we never even missed a beat with that. And even after that, we met up again at a Sunny Side of Freedom meetup in Mississippi. And that was pretty amazing. That was a lot different for me because I just felt so relaxed having you there. Like we've both been trained together, we've served together, and I feel like we have a family connection, like we are legitimately brothers. I think of Scooter as my family, as my brother. And that kind of helped me, at a veteran meetup. We were uniting and reuniting with some folks, but having Scooter present just allowed me to be more focused and laid back. So, always a pleasure to have Scooter on. So, Scoot, what's been new since the last time we've talked?
well, we talk so often, there's probably not a lot new to you, but I will say new to everyone else has been the continued building of the regimen that works for me with plant medicine. And I have taken pretty heavily. I got very lucky with VA Whole Health. I have an administrator who will take my calls anytime. Very knowledgeable of the program, and so I've been trying to put together a list of um, things that is available to veterans that maybe not everyone knows, um, or the VA doesn't want to put out. One of the big conversations I've had with that representative or system or administrator, program administrator, is that the VA, as we all know, is very siloed. So it's kind of like if you're in one program, we don't talk about it with anyone else. And that's kind of a sad deal. And I don't know why it is that way.
Well, that's
Um,
true because the whole health program itself, I had heard about from you and a couple of other veterans just in lives, and it's not something that my VA had told me about. I actually went to my annual checkup and had to ask my doctor about it, and she told the nurse, and the nurse said, "Oh, you're interested in whole health," and it's like she had to write a script for them to reach out and contact me about it. It's not something that they had flyers up for. It's not something that the doctor nor the nurses had discussed with me, even not even my therapist. So it's definitely a program that they're not really advertising. And once I did get the phone call, um, I was asking, what's available and what are you guys doing to communicate this? And she said, we're doing the best we can. But I felt like, at least at my local VA, they didn't have that support behind them to help them get the word out about these programs.
Yeah, when you called me right after you got done with that, I was pretty upset. And in true fashion, it's almost like I can be frustrated with the VA if they do something to me, but when I felt like they slighted you and I knew they were wrong, that really pissed me off. And so I called my administrator as soon as we hung up, and I asked the same questions, and it was the fact that no, you can go to other locations. You don't have to stay at that one VA. What's available, how it's done, the introduction, all of that should be the same. And it was pretty sad to hear it wasn't. And so that's why I talked to him, and he said, "Hey, give you his number. If you run into problems, he's more than happy to pull up your file and help you negotiate that. And that's what I was looking for, is someone within the system who is willing to talk to anyone no matter where they're at in the country and help them find these programs. We've talked so many times that each person is an individual, and what works for me may not necessarily work for you, or maybe there's a better option. Well, what's sad, but I'm taking that on and want to do it, like I have a drive to do it, is this is information that needs to go out. This is something that you never know. That guitar lesson, or like in the case of my VA, you have, they will give you an acoustic guitar and you take the guitar lessons. Maybe that's the thing that sets somebody on a path to pull them up out of the anxiety, the depression, the survivor's guilt, whatever is affecting them. Maybe that little bit of time will make that difference. And so I took that on pretty hard and plan to continue to do so.
Yeah, there's so many different avenues of ways to gain balance or even just to focus. Like you'd mentioned, playing guitar. I've heard of other people that do crocheting. When I reached out, when they called me back from the whole health program, I found out that they have yoga, they have Tai Chi. They do offer the guitar lessons. I had to provide my own guitar. And then another lady called me that does a mindfulness program. And so I asked her a little bit about what that entails, because I do practice mindfulness and I think we all do in our different ways. So she kind of gave me a rundown of what that is as a group session. And what I noticed was, irregardless of what type of whole health program it was, whether it was the guitar, the yoga, the Tai Chi, the mindfulness, they were all virtual courses. And so I found it interesting when I was informed that I'm not allowed to go outside of my network to participate in some of these programs that may not be available within my network, and because that's what I was told. But I'll find out. I know that you had told me you received information contradictory to that.
Yeah, my program administrator, who runs the whole health program for the entire VA that I'm at. And that's one of the things that each region, of course, is going to be a little bit different. So my VA in particular handles, I think we've got two or three state, I think three states, a portion of three states that this VA in particular handles. So there's people coming from a really long way away. But when I asked about that whole region thing that you brought up, the program administrator was very adamant that is not accurate, and he was quite upset because he said the whole premise of whole health is it's supposed to be what's good for the veteran. It is very person centric. So yeah, I'm waiting for you to get some more back on that, because that's one I really want to tackle. You're in the position that you can go to either or. You've got two different VAs close to you. Well, why not? If one's offering something that works for you, they shouldn't be putting a geographic boundary on you. And what I'm told is that's not how the system was designed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they do have some amazing programs that they probably need a little bit of help to get the word out on. And it sounds to me like they need the support from the VAs by talking about these programs to veterans, as well as maybe put up some advertisement in the lobbies just so that people can see it and kind of have an understanding of what is available to them in their networks, or even locally. A lot of these programs are in groups in person, which really does help people with their social activity, because so many times us veterans will get out of the service, we lose contact with our brothers and sisters like you and I. Like, we stay
Mhm.
in touch, but a lot of times that goes away because life happens. People have families, people have jobs, and they don't continue socializing with their veteran communities, and they feel alone. And so it really does help to get people out of their house, get people together, and get people talking, which we do in lots of our own ways. But a lot of people aren't aware of, the social media platforms, or maybe they just want to stay away from social media and would rather just do in-person stuff like this.
Right. And whether it's the platform or we're walking down the street and having, be willing to have that conversation. There's the whole health program. There's one that, again, I put out there that I don't think too many people knew, or in particular, you and I have a mutual brother that was interested in this program and was turned so far away by the lady he talked to. But compensated work uh, experience therapy. I think it's therapy, compensated work therapy, where the VA will bring a veteran in and hire them essentially to do different work within the VA. Some of the larger ones have gone out, and this is where that bridging the gap that I'm sure we'll talk about at some point in this hour, that civilian companies are able to hire a veteran at minimum wage plus $1. And the whole thing is to give them an experience that doesn't affect any of the VA benefit. It doesn't affect Social Security if they're on it, and it gives them an opportunity to discover if they can take on that job. Is 4 hours good? Is 8 hours okay? Do they learn a new skill, or do they decide, like in my case, I was like, well, I really want to go into business for myself. This program is out there, and it's available through the VA to give you 6 months to 1 year to come in and use these work experiences, this work therapy, and see how it's going to work. And you may find out, I just can't. And that's okay. Like, we're not here to judge. We just got to find what's going to work for our brothers and sisters to help them get out and get moving.
Absolutely. And like we mentioned, there's a lot of different ways to do that and a lot of programs that the VA does offer. But for those who aren't affiliated with the VA, I know a lot of folks that get out and they're like, screw that. I'm not going to even go to the VA for anything, not even for their health. It's still important for those folks to acclimate back into society and engage with people, have conversations, have people that you can trust to talk to. Because if not, I find a lot of folks just hold it in and they don't really want to take it on their family. But when you do that and you're not communicating with your family, you create hardships there as well. So you've got to find some place where you feel safe enough to be able to talk about some of those things to kind of overcome obstacles. And you had mentioned earlier in the podcast that you started your cannabis journey and it had helped you out. Do you want to talk a little bit more about why you started consuming cannabis, how you consume it, and what it has helped you out with?
100%. So I had gotten to where, and I'll recap quickly because we have the other episode, but I was on a whole lot of pharmaceuticals. And supposedly that was the regime that would work. It'd keep my pain down. It would help me mentally. It would help in my relationships. And what I found was the first few trials was more it zombified me. Sure, there wasn't conflict, but most of that was because I was completely out of it, and that didn't work. I actually feel like, to a degree, maybe that helped push me further over the edge into depression. And then finally, I had wanted to kind of look and see what that did, but then when you and I started talking, and what I really enjoy and appreciate about your discussion is, hey, this isn't for everyone, but if you'd like the information, I'll give it to you. So I did that. I took the information. I was able to remove down my citalopram by a third. No, 2/3. I cut 2/3 out. So I'm taking 1/3 the dose. I'm able to limit my ibuprofen and Tylenol. And I set a routine that, for me, the plant medicine specifically is part of my like medicinal routine, I guess. So for me, it's way different. When I wake up, I do my normal day. But at the end of the day, when I'm hurting the most, my brain is kind of starting to maybe travel a little faster than I want. That's when I will take a gummy, and that helps to kind of bring things down. So not only did that help? The meditation helped. Our conversations have helped. Um, my family has seen a difference significantly, specifically my kids, who were the ones that noticed the most when I would withdraw, um, not be happy anymore. I'm being told specifically that they're like, "Wow, it's kind of neat, Dad. We see you talking again. You're smiling again. Things don't set you off with that short fuse." I'm able to take it in, and I know that there'll be a time, a place, and a way that I can process through all of that. So that has been the progression of my journey from just experimenting what would work, when it would work, how it would work. When you came up, we went through a lot of things together, and my comfort level with you around is just like what you described when we were at the meetup. I knew that I was safe. No matter what happened, I would get through it and we would be on the other side together. So that was a chance for me to explore in a safe environment what I felt would work. And that allowed for different paths. So I have mine when I'm alone, and it's purely within a medicinal range. It's so I can sleep. It's so I don't feel rage build up and then I got to just blast it out. I can do all these different things. But when we're together, sometimes I like to just kick back. Now it used to be, and I'm sure you remember this, we could shut down a bar, a tavern, the dueling pianos, right? And I'm sure they had to replenish the booze that night.
Yeah, they felt the
And
dent when we came in for sure.
yeah. So that has changed now to where when I have those fun experiences, like when you were here, we're not drinking, we don't feel hungover the next day, and we can't do anything. No, we have a good time. We laugh, we joke, and it's a natural flow, and that's what I enjoy about it.
You really covered a lot of great topics, and I'll go back and start where you said that you felt comfortable, because I hear so many times people have a bad experience. You know, they get real paranoid or they flip the fuck out and they'll freak out, call an ambulance or whatever. And a lot of that attributes to, well, first off, you've got to be educated on how much you're consuming and what you're consuming. You know, there's some edibles that will send me to Mars. You're ticking again, buddy.
Am I?
There's some
Okay.
edibles that'll just send me to Mars, but then there's some that I don't even feel. You're still ticking. Yep. But you've got to monitor, like start slow, just little by little. And then the next thing was you'd mentioned I was there. You felt safe. We were at your house. Make sure that you're in a safe and comfortable environment for you. So a known, safe place like your home with a close confidant, like a friend that's experienced and someone that can kind of help talk you through anything that's going on. We didn't have any real major issues when we were hanging out and consuming, but we still had that opportunity to talk through reflection. Another thing that you had mentioned was you had started meditations and your family had noticed a change in you. And I feel it's imperative, even paramount, to call out the fact that the cannabis alone isn't going to fix things. The cannabis, though, will help you to put a buffer on your life, meaning like before you get triggered and respond poorly, it gives you a second to evaluate what you're about to say and then make a positive change. So the cannabis paired with the drive to do better, to be better, to feel better can certainly help you. And what I'm hearing you say is you weren't really meditating before cannabis. After you consumed and experimented, you started to find the types, the strains, the consumption methods, whether that be the gummies or the chocolates. I know that you like your chocolates too, but it helped you dial in what works for my pain, what works for my sleep, and then what helps me work on my mental. So what can I do that will calm my thoughts enough so that I actually can meditate? Because without it, if you're anything like me, those thoughts are so fast that trying to slow them down creates more of them and worse
Mm-hmm.
ones, and then it just gets out of control. But I've found that with the right strains of cannabis, I can get to a place where I don't really give a fuck about those thoughts and they start to just disappear to where it's thoughtlessness. and you can really do some healing work from there alone. And also, it cannabis does have inflammatory properties and pain healing, but you still need to work on the root cause of the pains, you know? So sometimes it will numb it down enough that you can work through it, or do your own physical therapy to get through the pain, and overcome that. But it does take a lot more than just the cannabis itself. Cannabis is not a cure-all, but it certainly is something that you can utilize to do the work to be better, both mentally, physically, and medically.
Absolutely. And so that was the first lesson that you taught me, because I was my issue with the meditation, right? So I'd sit down and I'd call you the next day and be like, well, I tried, and within 10 seconds, everything was just flowing so fast through my mind. And the more I was like, shh, be quiet, the louder it got. You didn't do this today. You didn't do that today. And it was almost like a self flagellation episode. Um, and I was working so hard to try to get that to calm down, because I knew there were benefits to the meditation. And when you kind of help give me ideas, then that's where I started with, how do I do this in a way that becomes beneficial. And for me, since everybody is different, just to give another exposure, the cannabis didn't necessarily slow those thoughts, but what it did is allowed me to open up, and I didn't focus on them. I allowed those to just flow.
I'm on a live. I'm interviewing.
I allowed those to just flow without any kind of attention to it, I guess would be the way to put it. And once they were gone, then that calmness and that quiet would come in. So combining those two really is what set it off for me.
And it takes practice, just like anything else. Any hobby or skill set that we get into, you have to do it over and over, repetitively, and learn to be better and better. But so many times we don't think about that with our own mental health, with our own thoughts, with our own mind, through those meditative practices, or even just learning to do something like play guitar, just something that where we can calm our mind and teach our mind that it works for us, not the other way around. Because what I mean by that is, if I'm laying in bed and these intrusive thoughts come in, sometimes they can get me out of bed. They can get me to go check the door. They can go get me to check the kids. They can go get me to this or that. And what I'm saying is, that's my thoughts in control of me at that point. I'm doing what this crazy shit is telling me to do. And I've found that when we practice things like meditation, that helps us later to become more present, to tell our mind to stop and pay attention to what's going on right now and what I really need to do, not what I think I need to do, because our thoughts can be crazy. And I think that the practice of doing these things that you're talking about, paired with cannabis, it kind of helps slow it down to a point that you can implement these practices every day to become better, just like you would at any other skill set.
Yep. Absolutely. Um, and I would say that for me, the cannabis gave me a preview of what the
Light up, I'll smoke.
physical and mental snapshot of what meditation could look like. And that's one of the things I talked to you about. I know my meditation is working well and working right when I start to have the physical feeling that comes over my body. Well, I didn't know what that would be until I had found the routine with the cannabis. And again, it's kind of crazy to say out loud, but that physical feeling that I got is now that physical feeling that I get when I meditate. And that's how I know things are all kind of kicking in for me.
And it's really hard to put into words,
Oh
a lot of
yeah.
the feeling versus what, versus the words are completely different. But I'm proud of you, and it's cool to hear you saying that, because had we had this conversation just a year and a half ago and I asked you about meditation, it wouldn't even be the same thing. It wouldn't even be real. So just to see the progress that you've made in the past year, and not only that I've noticed, but more importantly, your family, children, and those that are there close to you, because it's not just words, like they're seeing the actions that you're demonstrating, and that's what proves to them the change. And so many times I hear people say things like, people never change, they just show you who they are. That's complete bullshit. And if that's the case, that's horrible, because I try to be better than I was yesterday. And when I look back at me through history, I feel like I'm becoming a better version. Like I was a sweet little child and I became this something, man, that was making bad judgment calls, that was causing harm to my body with alcohol and pills and speeding and doing the craziest shit in the world, to now I'm more aware and I actually care a little bit more. And I realized over time that I had heard, be mindful, practice meditation, practice gratefulness, but it sounds so stupid and so easy that it's like, well, I can do that, but that's not going to work. See, I just didn't do it. And I certainly didn't do it consistently, to where now that I've scheduled that into my daily life and I practice it over and over, I feel like it really is making a difference, because I'm starting to see that. I'm starting to see that in my relationships, in my friendships, and even in just in my life in general. So it really is something that we have to work on and take seriously, and realize, what, this stuff does help. It doesn't, you don't have to change your life to do it. You just have to make the time in your head for yourself to do these things. And you don't even have to tell anybody shit. You can just do it on your own all damn day.
Yep. Yeah, the not telling anybody, that's one of my things now. And you've hit it a few times. You even said it last night on the live. Like I've heard words too often, and sadly I've spoken words too often, right? So the words don't really mean much. It's when you can show the action to yourself, to the people around you. Um, and so then I got to the point where I really don't say much, because I feel like I'm setting myself up to potentially even fail. I don't really let that become a thought, but it creeps a little bit just by saying, "Oh, I'm going to." Instead, it's I did. You know what I mean? I did it. Now I can talk about it and say, "Here's what worked." So, and that's what I'm happy about, and I want to spread that out to as many people as possible. Um, but and this kind of hits another topic we were going to discuss. I found that my spot that I am the most comfortable is going out, talking to people, putting out on the social media platforms, and part of that is engaging myself in something that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But because I put it as I'm
I'm good.
supporting what you have been creating, I feel more comfortable about that. So I can challenge myself a little bit and get your message that becomes our message that then brings people in, and you have that charisma to just continue to carry it. So I love being in that support position, and I'm okay with it now. Whereas before it's like you always looked for that next elevation, right? I can do that job. um, i'm the I'm the crewman. Well, but I want to be the gunner. Okay, well, I'll study and I'll get to that next position. Well, I want to be the engineer, the nav, the coxswain, the patrol leader, boat watch officer, right? So we were always striving for that next level up in our progression. What I've discovered about me is I'm really happy. I don't have to progress to the next level that might look like the natural progression. No, I'm very, very, very happy to call you and be a sounding board or throw out ideas that I have. And how can you and I together take this mission and move it out and talk to the next person who will talk to the next person who will talk to the next person? I like that. And you're killing it. And like you said, you were up till wee hours of the morning. Why? Because you have this work to do. And I think not enough people see what you're doing behind the scenes to make all of this happen. The work that goes into it. It's not all just sit in front of a camera, have fun. It is a lot of damn work. And I didn't even know that till I tried putting together a website and said, "What kind of nut job does this shit?"
Yeah. You covered a lot, Scooter, but the first thing that I wanted to say was I value and appreciate your support. And I want our viewers to know that it's not just me that you support. What Scooter is amazing at is connecting with people random. The randomest people you'd be like, how the hell do you even meet these people? But Scooter he's a connector. He has a way of just talking to people, and people are comfortable sharing with Scooter. He's got so much charisma, and I describe Scooter as like an ornery teenage boy. He's like fun to be around, and it's mostly innocent but ornery fun. But it's not just me. Scooter helps out so many others, and I actually recommend him to people. I'm like, you need to talk to Scooter about this because he can help out. Because I've noticed something about Scooter is that if you have a relationship with him, like our veteran family here, then he will do whatever he can to help, and he does this very selflessly. Never asks what's in this for me, and just dives right in and adds so much value to help people get to that next level that you had kind of talked about.
Mhm.
And so I want to say, I feel your love and support, and I really do value that very much. And just a personal note, if it weren't for you, I don't think I'd be where I'm at because I use Scooter as my sounding board. Sometimes just a sanity check. I'll call them with no agenda in mind, just talk and be like, here's what I'm working on. Do I sound crazy? And he kind of keeps me within my guidelines and my swim lanes. And lastly, you touched briefly on it, and it's true. People don't know how much work this takes. Like, even just an example, just this live interview right here. I want to make sure that this gets out there and gets in the hands and ears of people that could use this information. And so, what that means is if I'm doing this right and I'm taking it seriously and doing things the way that I need to, at the end of this interview, I'll update the title, the description, add the hashtags. I have to do this manually for each of my social media platforms. And then beyond that, I will create shorts to generate more views. And I make sure then that it goes up to the website, 420chief.net. And it really does take a lot of hours. Like last night, I was working on just the final touch ups on 420chief.net, and I got to bed about 3 a.m. But I'm not a website designer. I certainly do know my way around a website now. But to be honest with you, I'd rather do a cold plunge. I'd rather go hang out with Wim Hof and swim in the Antarctic for like fucking an hour or whatever. And I would rather do that than work on a website. So I knew, going back to what you had said, that was my lean into the suck. That's what I need to do that I don't want to do, that I'm dreading and have been putting off to get to where I need to be. And I was bitching about it a little, and I appreciate you letting me do that. But at the end of the day, I know that I'm only bitching about all this work and I'm working these long hours because I didn't start sooner and balance myself out. And I think that my ADHD and progress look the same. I'll kill it here, and then I'm like lazy, 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 lazy. And then one day I'll do more work than most people do in a month. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to rest. I'm going to rest. And I personally need to do a better job of just lean into that suck a little bit every day so that I can still get sleep later, make time for my family later, eat healthy and all that stuff, and take care of me a little bit better, and certainly have less stress doing it. But I did it, and sometimes we're faced with that. I think just anybody who's alive is faced with that. We all have that shit we don't want to do. Maybe it's a
Mhm.
conversation with a loved one that we're putting off. Maybe it's that conversation with our employer about how we really feel about our position and what it would really take to make us happy there. Or maybe it's that conversation with ourself, like,
There you go.
this is what I need to work on, this is what I need to improve, and now I'm gonna fucking do those things. Because if at the end of the day, once we've gotten through our crazy thoughts and we're taking this be better, make life better shit seriously, then you really do have to put in that work. So what you come up with about what I need to improve on, what I need to work on, you have to actually do that too. And that's hard, you know?
Yep.
So
That last conversation, the one with yourself, I think is the most important but it is also probably the hardest if you're being honest with yourself.
Well, my dad, as my whole life, would always say, "Well, what's the matter? The truth hurt," and it does, especially
Yep.
when we're being honest with ourselves. And that,
Yep.
because there's a lot of weight behind that. To live your truth, to speak your truth, you first have to be honest with yourself. What can I be doing better? Do I
Yep.
really need these medications, or can I make changes to my life so that I won't need them, and then do that work, whether that be exercise or diet? That's hard.
Yeah.
Like wanting to eat delicious, good food versus the food that we know will help make us healthier. That is hard. That's a
Yep.
difficult one. And sometimes when we're aching and we're older, especially as it gets cold, it's super effing hard to go out on a hike or to go to the gym. My son Bub goes to the gym every fucking day. Life is simple for Bub: work, eat, sleep, gym. And he takes that gym part pretty serious. But when you talk to him about it, he's passionate about that. Like he's figured out what works for him and made that the biggest part of his life. You
And it
know,
shows. It shows. And that's one of the things, like when I see stuff that Bub puts out, I'm so proud of him. It
dude, I want to
shows.
show. I can't wait till Bub gets a better camera and starts doing daily stuff, man, because his transformation is one like you see a scrawny little Bub, and then when you see pictures of him, especially if you were to start tanning and oiling up or whatever, he's very well defined. He's figured out how to isolate muscle areas. And so he might look small. He's going for the sleeper build. So he'll wear like a bigger shirt or hoodie or whatever. And then like he can get in the gym and pose up on his boys. And they're like, God damn. But he's got
Yep.
the physique. But to get that, anyone knows that takes a lot of time. And he, like myself, and he gets it from me, is extra as fuck. So he goes to the gym and he works out, the normal 2-3 hours like everybody. But the difference is when Bubba's taking a break, he's working out. So like when his dad, you remember going to the gym with me, and I
Oh
realize
yeah.
it, especially now, but nobody liked to work out with me because when I'm taking a break, we're doing ab workouts. In
Hmm.
between sets, we're doing push-ups. Like, oh, you wanna take a breather? Go get it on an exercise bike. Like
I
we
hated
have
those exercise
we're
bikes.
not
Just had to
yeah,
throw that out.
we're not wasting time here. But because of that extraness that's leaning into the suck. Like Goggins running 100 miles on broken feet. No one likes to run, really, I don't think. I think we like the outcome of it. But while I've never been out running going, I love this shit. This feels amazing. Nope, not for me.
Never.
There are people like that, but I'm not one of them. But, and that's just the point. Like for me, what's good for me today? Well, it's 19 degrees outside or some crazy shit. I really should go out there and hike with the dogs. So maybe after this, I'll be motivated enough to do that, take a little break, and then make those shorts later, but still not go to bed at 3 a.m. Anyways, I digress.
Yep.
I digress. But back to the point, like it wasn't just the cannabis. Like you've been doing the work, people started to see the work. Have you incorporated your family into that with some of your schedules, some of your rituals, and things like that?
Um, a little bit. The biggest thing has been their acceptance of it. And that has been really my biggest ask. I will say that my little granddaughter, she lives with us for right now. I'm very proud of her parents. I do want to throw that out. I'm very proud of her parents and what they have done and accomplished, um, and how things are going with her. But to directly to your question, she does sit down. She's not quite 7. She's got a month to go, but she sits down and she will meditate with me. She gets to
Oh,
pick
wow.
2 nights out of the week what meditation music we go to sleep to. Um, she now is getting up in the morning, and when I do the stretches, so we have a smart TV. I think everybody has to have them now. I don't even think they even allow non-smart TVs anymore. I don't know. But this one happened. I just happened to find it. It has stretching, yoga, all this other stuff on the television itself. So we found this. So she'll get up a little bit earlier. She comes out and she does her stretches with me. She'll do a little yoga with me. And then she enjoys making a smoothie. Her smoothie's different than mine and her grandma's we add amino acids and stuff to ours. Hers is just fruit. Um, but it makes me happy that at almost 7, she gets excited about it. She will turn off her kid programming when I come in the room after she's brushed her teeth because it's our meditation time, and she gets into it. And I tell you what, that little girl falls asleep in about 5 minutes, if that.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Setting her up for some super skills on going to bed as an adult. That's great.
I think that is going to help her so much. And then to now be excited to get up in the mornings, like she has a smile that just melts you. And when I look over and the alarm has gone off and I'm all kind of like, oh man, okay, it's time to get up. Why? Because I said I was going to do this. And so I'm going to. And that little girl pops awake. Bam. It's time for yoga.
Uncle Ryan loves you, Hazel. Hug.
Yeah. So, it that's how I've incorporated. And that's just one instance. I would be willing to bet that
I have
as
one for
time.
you.
Yeah.
This is just me sitting it back and watching from the outside. But as you know, I do music therapy lives every
Yeah.
Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. And I remember you from the get go. You've been there since day one back in July. I think I started July 11th. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's standing out in my head, anyways. 7-Eleven.
There you
But
go.
you came in and you've brought so many people in that are with you in person, right? So I've met your family, but I've met even more of your family during the live. So you've been on there with Hazel, you've been on there with your mother, you've been on there, with Joe, you've been on there with your daughters. It's like, holy smokes. I feel like when we're doing the music therapy, everybody in there, it's almost like it's as close as we can get to being together around the bonfire without being together.
Yeah.
And so, I always, to me, it's like, oh, I want to make sure that they're engaged as well. And so, like as this last time, your mother was in, and we played some extra Def Leppard just for her. Um, but for me, that's kind of me from the outside seeing you uniting with your family. And I think what you've got there, Scooter, is a beautiful thing because I talk to so many people who don't have anyone. And I'm blessed to have you in my life, and so is your family. But I'm proud that you have so many of them that want to be with you as much as they do. So you're definitely doing something right. So keep that stuff up. You know what I'm saying?
I do, and I appreciate that, and I think it's really important, especially in the aspect of our interviews and you know the validity. You and I talk a lot about validation, right? So, in complete honesty, this is all new to me too. My youngest daughter Taylor called me last night, right at the end of your music live, um, and I went to her phone call. I missed your closeout, but it was important to me that she called because this is new stuff. Her calling, why? Just wanted to chat. There was nothing wrong, nothing going on. She says, "Hey, Dad, I haven't talked to you in a little while, and so I wanted to call, see how you're doing." That meant a ton to me because again, all these things that we're talking about that are positive now, a year and a half, 2 years ago, wouldn't have happened because of me, not because of her, not anything that she was doing, but I was closed off. I wasn't present. I wasn't present to play a card game. I wasn't present on the phone. I wasn't present in person. And I created that atmosphere. So it took me working to disassemble that. And now they do reach out. They do want to know how things are going. I'm pleasant to be around again. Um, so it takes a lot of work, but yeah, you're right. I mean, the family, I try to incorporate them as much as I can because I think that they also can get positive uh, effects from these things that I have found that we've worked on.
Absolutely. Well, Scooter, I know you're living out there on the res, you got your farm going on. What's next for Scooter? What are you working on, my man? Always something.
Always something. To feel energized and going again is kind of cool. So the first thing is finishing the different questions that have come in to me in regards to that VA whole health and the compensated work therapy, getting actual rules, CCRs, so on and so forth, so that if anyone questions that anywhere in the U.S., I have the manual, right? Go read the manual. So I'm trying to get a full worksheet of that put together. Super excited for Break Stigmas now coming into full light. Um, I'm going to be jamming on that quite a bit. That continued support of 420 Chief and where I'm comfortable and what I like to do and spread that message, especially because I can do things like we just did. Hey, here's where I was, here's the work, and here's where I'm at. Maybe my path isn't the same that yours will look like, but let's talk about it. Let's kind of move out. Staying very veteran centric in that. I feel that's my place, my position. And the final one, my most important, through conversation with family, making the time to have those good conversations, I am going to get an opportunity to start traveling a little bit. Um, so January, I'm going to try to go out and meet a few folks. It will depend on how the military airlift command flights are looking at that time, because I am going to take that as an adventure that I can report back to other veterans, since we now qualify for seats on those aircraft. But there's some specific rules that apply to us.
You're buzzing a little bit.
Oh my goodness. Is that better? No? I don't know what's doing it. It's on and then it's off and then it's on and
There you
then
go.
it's off.
You're
All
good.
right. Yeah, just barely touched something. So I really look forward to that, because I think that if more veterans knew that they could go to their local base, check out the 72-hour flight schedule, jump on an airplane, and they can go see a buddy, a family member, or hey, here's a great one. Just go on their own and maybe go down to let's see, you can go to Puerto Rico, you can go to Hawaii, you can go anywhere, right? So now you can take that time for you, and it doesn't require $1,000 plane ticket. So I'm going to try to jump through some hoops and report back and record how that goes. And then my biggest excitement, I can't exclude this, but I'm not going to touch on it too much because I'm going as a support person for you. But I'm so excited to go to Washington, D.C. Like, brother, I cannot wait for our camp.
That's gonna that's gonna be exciting. I was actually watching a video my brother Troy posted on TikTok the other day about his time there last year, and he had mentioned in that message that he went there a year ago to speak on behalf of how alternative healing methods had helped him in his life, and how even people in his family and friends looked at him differently after that in a negative light, as if to say, shame on you for doing those things. But at the same time, he's there testifying about how it helped him. And he, after meeting him in person and giving him a hug, like, I was like, man, that did it for me. When I felt the love from his hug, it made me just want to support Troy and his mission so much more. But yeah, I'm really excited to go there, meet up with the guys from Balance Veterans Network that are sponsoring an area there. And what they do, from my understanding and talking with Eric Jansen, was they'll put up like a big tent. They'll get couches in there, and they encourage veterans to come in, and they can consume in there, and they just socialize and hang out, and they have all kinds of stuff. And so I'm super stoked to meet back up with you. You're ticking again. You're ticking. But I'm excited to meet back up with you and kind of go off grid like I did at the Military Influencer Conference. Stayed north of Georgia, stayed in the camper. I'd kind of like to do a similar situation. But this time, instead of being alone, I'll have my brother Scooter with me. And so I'm excited to meet up and do that. I think that'll be no, we'll meet up. I'm sure before then. We'll meet up
Yeah.
before then. Um, Thank you so much for coming in and talking with me today. I'm sure we could keep these going, and I definitely want to continue talking about your current mission. It sounds like you're very passionate about getting answers specifically from the VA on their whole health and any opportunities that they can provide to help out veterans. Is there any way to have people, or what's your preferred method if people do have questions about these programs? Where would you recommend they go to get answers for those, or any way to contact you? Like, what do you recommend there, or just
So,
talk to your VA and ask them?
see, I wish I could say that that's the answer, but you personally know that's not going to be necessarily a great way to go. Maybe it's the starting point. Call your VA, ask to talk to the whole health administrator, and discuss all of this stuff with them. They're supposed to be there to help the veteran. That being said, again, unfortunately, and you're not the only one who has gotten hold of me and said, "This is what I was told." I verify it as complete bullshit. As far as the best way to reach me, you just made me think of something that I need to do, because right now, I've been guilty of. We have our family, right, and so those members have my cell phone number. They know how to reach me. I would guess for
Well, I think
today,
for today, I would say put it in the comments and
yes.
we can check the comments. But sounds like an idea or something to think about for you, because if you're starting to get more traffic and more questions, then I think it would behoove of you to have a way that people could get in touch with you, or
Yeah, I
a
need to.
platform of some sort to where you could. Anyways, that's something to discuss later. Just
Yeah,
another
and
task on the board.
yep, and what we'll do for anyone who's watching, when I do have that, I'll talk to you, and you and Bub can work on putting an update, in the video or something. I don't know. For now, I think the best way is probably you know TikTok, Scooter EXW, I believe is what I am there. But yeah, let's go with comments. I will make that a priority to set something up that I can put out to the public. Because I learned a lesson the hard way. You put your personal information in the public, and those who don't agree can sometimes get
Yeah,
pretty nasty.
yeah. Don't be
So
safe with that.
yeah,
Don't
so
be
we'll
safe
work
with that.
something out, and we'll get an update out for everyone, because I definitely don't want anyone to feel like they've got questions and they can't get them answered.
Awesome. Well, Scooter, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for what you've shown me on your journey. I see you smiling more. I see you making future plans, and I see you finding purpose and mission. And a lot of people don't find that. So I am grateful for my relationship with you and look forward to even more of these discussions in the future, because I'm definitely going to hold you accountable and I need some of those resources. But so thank you again, Scooter. And with that said, Scooter touched on it. I'm out here really doing shit. I'm out here traveling the nation with my service dog, trying to raise some awareness for that. That's not my mission, but it's something that I've fallen in trap to, with the stigmas behind dogs, and you can't bring him in here, or you have to pay this deposit. So it pains me in the ass when I have to do that. So I am helping a buddy of mine who, Frizz, we interviewed yesterday and talked about it. I'm just going to help him out to help raise awareness, because that'll make my life easier. But I'm also meeting with veterans. I'm across the country, meeting with people in real life, helping raise awareness about the different strains, the different consumption methods, and answering those questions and providing that safe place to try it out for themselves, like Scooter had mentioned when I came there to visit him. This is something that saved my life, and it means a lot to me. Like I'd mentioned earlier, it's not going to be a cure all for you. It just helps you get started to put in that work every single day. And that's what I'm trying to do. Scooter mentioned earlier, we're always looking for that next thing, that next rank, like in the military. I took my rank of chief very seriously. And what that meant to me, the biggest thing I can remember as a chief is be a deck plate leader. And for me, that means be visible, but be the the role model. Be what you want people to be. Lead with change. That is my slogan for 420 Chief. And so my truth is, to do that, you have to demonstrate that. And so I'm out here every day meeting with our veterans, listening to their stories, trying to amplify some of their stories, like Scooter here, like we did with Frizz yesterday, and many more to come with some pretty powerful stories. from curing themselves of cancer to reuniting their families. It's it's different for everyone. Again, we're all on our own journeys. And along the way, I am doing all this work, but I find that the music therapy that I do on TikTok every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. Central has been one of my favorite things because of the people and the support that's there in the chat. Irregardless of what kind of day you're having, we're all going through some shit at the same time together. And none of that's reflected there. It's a non judgmental place where people can come and vibe out and genuinely feel the love from a fucking app. I just feel like it's unmatched support. Like I haven't seen that in very many other places. The only other one would be the Sunny Side of Freedom, and her mission is uniting veterans across the nation. But her platform is a safe place where veterans come and they can talk about the week or talk about whatever they want. But in time, people really get to know people and meet people in real life and become real family in real life. I'm leaving next Tuesday, as a matter of fact, from Missouri and traveling down to Texas to meet up with my brother 4 Points Ranch. I'm taking my 13-year-old son. I've met 4 Points before. Scooter's met 4 Points before through the Sunny Side of Freedom platform. And I've met someone that I'm comfortable enough to travel, across from Missouri to Texas with my son to stay at his ranch for a while. And we'll see what comes of that. I'll definitely, for sure, have 4 Points on the show. But I'm just trying to use my words to tell you how I'm demonstrating this and what this is doing in other people's lives. And it's apparent, it's evident. You can see changes when you put in the work. And thank you. I love you much, Scooter. And for all of our viewers out there, keep being the reason. Be the reason somebody smiles, but lead with change. Do the shitty stuff to get it done so that you can do the things that you really need to do. We all know what we need to do to get to where we need to be. Sometimes it's scary. It's a pain in the ass. We just don't want to. You got to kick that fucking door in and just do it. So with that said, much love to you all. Chief out.
Love you, brother.
I love you, brother. And I don't know. I'll set up another one for us.